and I'm joined by Ryan Casey of One and Company. We're both One and Company at
We
William
are.
Raveis Real Estate. We are all of it, right? No,
We are part of it.
we are a very small little percentage of it, but we're happy to bring you guys this live feed today to talk about the actual market, the numbers in the Connecticut real estate market. What's actually happening? Everybody knows the situation that we're in is impacting the economy overall, but what's happening here in our local market? And for those of you that maybe follow us on a consistent basis or tune into our blog, every single week, there's a lot of information there. But once a month, we share a blog. It's called How's the Market? We also do a video recapping those stats. But today we're going to take a little bit of time, Ryan and I, and we're going to dig into those numbers because the video and the blog are, quick, over the top hitting numbers that kind of give you a general sense of the market. But you may have a question, and if you do, certainly feel free to put those in the comment section on the Facebook live feed. But naturally, you just may say, well, total sales, what does that really mean? Aren't they like a lagging indicator because those properties go under contract, 2 months before they actually close? All of those different types of questions that you may be thinking about as you look at the stats, whether there are stats or somebody else's real estate stats for what's happening in Connecticut, we're hoping to answer during this live feed. So again, if you've got a question, we're going to do some screen sharing here. We're going to screen share in just a couple minutes our blog that we're referring to, but we're also going to open up the actual Smart MLS. This is the MLS that basically 99% of Connecticut transactions flow through. The Smart MLS, I believe the only two MLSs that are outside of the Smart MLS now is Greenwich and Darien. They have their own MLSs. Everybody else in the state of Connecticut, so to speak, is operating on the Smart MLS. So we're actually going to open that up to you right here on this live feed to the public and show you what's happening in real time right now, up to the minute, with our Connecticut real estate market. Ryan, should we play the video for these guys? I mean, I thought you did a fantastic job in the video. We could play the video.
Let's play the video and then we'll I guess we can jump into it.
No, we're not going to play the video because I got the blog on the screen share. I got to be careful. Jill's going to yell at me with these screen shares. But you definitely should go check out the video. I think, Ryan, you're the thumbnail this month.
I am. Yeah. I mean, as so, right? I mean, we want people to get clicks. We want to get people in the door and see the video. But kind of just to touch on what you're talking about, Byron, before, just to kind of backtrack, I was kind of very excited or intrigued to see what these numbers would be.
Yeah.
We were rolling. We were doing very, very well in the month of January and February through the MLS numbers and as a team. And then I remember, it was just the beginning of the March Madness season. And this I always remember this. And they were playing the first game. It was the tournaments. And Creighton was playing a team, and they came out and they played the first half, and then they never came back out for halftime. They completely shut it down, and then you saw the NBA and the NHL. And this was the first thing that was going through my mind, right? It was, how are people going to react for this month? Now all this stuff is starting to shut down. Things are just being completely flipped upside down. And seeing these numbers, and let me know when you want to start talking about what we've been seeing, you and me and the team members have been seeing for experience. But it's just so interesting to see how people are going to react and what these numbers would be as soon as this started to trickle in.
Yeah, everything happened to us as a society so instantaneously. It felt like, you're referring to the sports world. That was certainly an eye-opening moment where it's like, whoa, this is going to be enormous, and it's going to touch absolutely everybody, not just in our state, in our country, but in the world. This has touched everybody in the world to some degree. And that instantaneous impact also has impacted jobs, right? We've seen millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of people either be furloughed or go completely in the unemployment line. And that absolutely has to have an impact on real estate, right? There's a lot of people that are buying and looking and searching for real estate in this spring market and in every spring market that are using a mortgage, right? And so you might have been qualified for a mortgage the end of February, beginning of March. that you may not qualify for today. We've seen the banks tighten up. And so all of these different things do impact the real estate market. But unless we actually dig into what the numbers are and what they're showing us, everything we say, right, is just a level of fluff. Oh, well, yeah, that's going to impact it. This could, this should, this would. Those are all guesses and theories. I like to live more in the black and white and look at what's actually happening. Now, none of us, myself, Ryan, our team, economists even, we can't predict what's going to happen over the next 90 days, right? We can use some data, and we can certainly look backwards and use some data to kind of give our best guess, but to guarantee what's going to happen over the next 90 days is going to be really difficult. It'll be less difficult if we know the exact number. So I'm gonna go ahead and screen share this first. The blog that we did for the month of March, and you'll see here this first part is Connecticut. So this is just Connecticut overall. We'll stick our conversation, Ryan, to single family homes. And and we've got all the information on condos. If you want to go look and dig into condos, we can do that, but we'll stick to single family homes. So if you go Connecticut overall as a state, this is the month of March, by the way. You see here is March 2020 market stats. Okay. And so for Connecticut overall in the month of March, you saw a huge decrease in active listings. Okay. I think you were going to see a decrease anyway. We were starting to see, Ryan, and correct me if I'm wrong, but were we not starting to see in January and February a lack of inventory out there for our buyers?
We were. I just can tell you countless stories of, working with buyers, going to see a house and saying, hey, there's not much out there. So if you want to wait a little bit, you can. This was before we even had the lockdowns and things starting to get flipped upside down. So you're absolutely right.
So this number here, this 14,423, that's how many homes, single family homes, were listed in the month of March for 2019. 2,000 less homes were listed in 2020 across the state, which is a huge decrease and really tightens up the inventory for the buyers that are out there. Now, that being said, the number of sales went up almost 9% from March 2019, from the sales that happened in March 2019 in the state of Connecticut to the sales that happened in March of 2020. Almost a 9% increase, which reflects how strong the market was moving in January and in February. Because remember, most sales take 30 to 60 days if they're using a mortgage to complete, right? We've seen lenders close them. Certainly in January and February, they were closing as close to 30 days. A lot of the lenders, and there's certain situations where they go all the way up to 60 days. But these sales are really triggered by the work that the real estate professionals throughout the state and the buyers and the sellers did in January and February. Okay, so that's more of a lagging indicator. It's a little bit heartbreaking because I got to tell you, this spring was going to be a historic spring for Connecticut. When you see this number in March, and the expectation was that was going to keep growing right through the entire spring market, but it shows you how strong the demand was in January and February. Average days to sell went down, another good sign that demand was there. An average sale price popped over 6% in the state of Connecticut for all of these sold homes. So when you see prices start to rise, average days to sell going down, and the number of sales going up, those are all real big indicators that there's a lot of demand. And when there's that much demand, some of that's going to, kind of flow over into April and May. You can safely guess that that's going to be the case.
Yes, absolutely. And just kind of reiterate what you said, Byron, just the situation right now and the amount of buyers out, it's kind of, I don't want to use the word alarming, but just the lack of inventory and the lack of options, and leaves these buyers with very little choice what to do next. If I believe strongly with the people in March that had to buy, really, really needed to buy, and we'll get into this more, obviously. And if sellers really need to sell, they really, really had to sell this month because no one wanted to do a transaction. No one still wants to do a transaction with everything going on right now. So I just felt like these buyers were so motivated this month and these sellers were so motivated that it just created this more of demand and this quick, like, hence the reasons why the average days to sell, I feel like, went down. It's probably going to go down even more too because people just want to move quick and didn't want to deal with a long period of time trying to find a house during this time, during this pandemic.
Yeah, and with the decrease in inventory, you could see the number of days to sell go down because we're dealing with limited inventory. You can see this in New London County. We're going to highlight now the 3 counties that, you know, we primarily focus on as a team at One & Company, which is New London County, Middlesex County, and New Haven County. Looking here at New London County, you can see that they had the same thing happen reflective of the state. Active listings went way down, 16% decrease in the amount of inventory that came onto the market in March of 2020 compared to March 2019. Number of sales shot up almost 9% there, 8.5%. Average days to sell actually increased in New London County. So that was unique to the state, but average sale price did jump up quite a bit, 9%. That's a really big number for New London County, going from 250,000 to 271. Really strong number there for single family homes in New London County. Middlesex County, this was the one outlier of the 3 counties that we follow in the fact that their average sale price decreased. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind. Middlesex County in 2019 had humongous gains in average sale price, the most of any of these 3 counties, enormous gains. Also, we've seen less high-end deals here in the first quarter of the year, and high-end deals can obviously, you know, kind of be an outlier and jump those numbers up. So they were the only county that saw a decrease in average sale price. But again, number of sales shot up. That can also look at how many more sales in the month of March, 150 compared to 117. So that can dilute that average sale price a little bit. And then active listings went down. Average days to sell were basically flat. New Haven County, reflective of the state, active listings shot down, number of sales up, average days to sell down. And then the average sale price almost 7.5% up. So Ryan, this is all good, right? That, you know, we're looking at these stats in March 2020, but we're already into the middle of April. And I'll bring up our next screen share here. But as we get, and if you got any questions that are very specific, I'm about to bring up the MLS, the CT Smart MLS, where the majority of Connecticut real estate professionals, I'd say 99% of real estate professionals are on the Smart MLS outside of Darien and Greenwich. Those 2 towns have their own MLS, and really every other transaction in the state runs through the Smart MLS. So if you're watching this live and you've got a question about the market and what's happening right now, we showed you our blog, which you can find every single month on oneandcompany.com, blog.oneandcompany.com. But that's reflective of what happened in March 2020 compared to March 2019. There have been 2 weeks since that blog closed out here in April. And before I open the MLS, Ryan, what are you seeing? Ryan, by the way, for anyone that doesn't know this, I think only the team would know this. Yeah. Ryan was tied this month for the last 30 days in most under contract sales. So Ryan is still actively out there helping buyers and sellers come to agreements during this time. Real estate is deemed essential in Connecticut. I think it's a no-brainer that it's essential, and most of the governors should be following the lead of our governor, making it essential. I mean, when you're telling people to shelter in place, a lot of people need a place to shelter. It doesn't get any more basic than that. Real estate is 17% of the national GDP. It's a critical industry, and it's one that I believe, and this is more of a prediction, right? So I'm getting a little bit off base, but it's an industry that I believe more people are going to invest in as we get through this crisis, and when this is all over. As people reevaluate their life situation, they're going to be looking to real estate as something that's real, an asset that they can get some utility out of, whether that's living leasing or utilizing for their work or whatever. I do believe real estate is going to have a lot of attention as we come out of this glass glass half full, if you will, Ryan. You've got enough people. There's enough people out there that are glass half empty for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, first off, congratulations to Jocelyn with tying with me for 500
And Paige,
contracts.
during our meeting,
Yeah.
it was Ryan and Jocelyn that were tied for the most under contract in the last 30 days. But Paige had gotten one in right before that meeting that wasn't accounted for. So it was a three-way tie.
So it was
Have you ever seen a three-way tie?
I don't know.
And in fairness, Ryan, I'll toot your horn a little bit more. You were the winner the month previous with, I think, double-digit deals under contract. So tell us about just the last 30 days and the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
In terms of interest and people that are going out on showings, what it's like on those showings, meaning, social distancing and all of that. How have the showings changed? And then we'll jump into the MLS and the stats that are happening right now over the last 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So kind of going back, as soon as we saw sports canceled, and I was thinking, who are these buyers going to be? Who are my clients going to be? And saying I got 5 under contract, each person has been very, very different, which I thought was very interesting because I just kept thinking it was going to be the same kind of narrative, the same person, the same situation. And that wasn't the case at all. The first one I got under contract is interesting. I think this was a very smart move from this gentleman. He invested in a home, a foreclosure. He plans to flip it in the next coming months, and he's hoping by July to put it back on the market, which, we discussed this before, Byron, if you want to go into it. It's almost like we feel like there's a pause button, right? We have all these people who were hoping to buy maybe in February when this started, March, April, May, and all of a sudden you're going to be opening up these floodgates. And I feel like we're going to have this massive amount of people looking to buy homes. And you have a gentleman who invested in a home, is going to have it probably ready, hopefully, by the perfect timing of it. And I think he's going to sell this house fairly quickly for a good amount of money.
Now, a lot of buyers are, you mentioned buyers that were ready to go. A lot of buyers, they don't just wake up one Sunday morning and say, you know what, I'm going to buy a house this week. This is typically months and months, if not a year or longer, of preparation before they actually start even looking at properties, right? There's so many agents that are like, oh, these leads on Zillow or these leads on realtor.com, they're no good. They're not ready to buy, because most people take 9 months before they pull the trigger. They're on Zillow in data collection mode. They're trying to learn about the market. So a lot of the people that were ready to go January, February, March, April, that were gearing up for this spring market, to your point, have been preparing for months on end. So it's not necessarily the buyers today, just the people that have a need, meaning they have a job relocation, they're in the military and their time is up and they're moving on to another state or whatever the case may be. It's also a lot of people that have just been preparing, saving, have the money. Maybe they're able to work from home. They're not one of those tens of millions of Americans that have been furloughed or laid off, and they're still in a strong position financially. They want to get out of maybe the apartment now more than ever, and they want to make this move. So there is a large variety of buyers that are still active in today's market.
Yeah, and kind of reiterate that point too. So with the 5, I had investor, first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer, drawing a blank on the other one. Oh, a gentleman that I got in a open house. I was showing him houses for months because I thought there might be this certain time where I'm showing people a lot of houses, and all of a sudden they were going to stop and kind of wait. And that's not the case either. We're staying active. We're still reaching out to these people. And one of those under contract was on the sell side, which I've been telling my buyers, we can't, like you said, you can't predict the market, but the people who have to sell during this time, if it's not vacant and these houses are, there's people still living in them, they usually are very motivated to sell, because what we're seeing is, because that number is so low, people are just like, you know what, we don't have to sell right now. We can wait a little bit, maybe wait for this pass. We feel comfortable, people coming into our house. And the people who are staying up, and I know we don't have these numbers to show right now, but you can see these price decreases really sharply falling over a couple weeks time. Like there was one house Yeah, go ahead.
From the people that absolutely need to
That
sell.
absolutely
You
have
think,
to
yeah.
sell. It's kind of like tell people, keep an eye out for these houses still. And then we got that other flow coming in through Zillow, other buyers who now are a little bit more intrigued maybe than they were before, just saying, hey, what's going to go on? And though we can't predict anything, we don't have a crystal ball. It's getting people thinking a little bit more about the future and in the summer when this is finally over, what is going to happen, and we can only
Yeah,
give a couple
there's
scenarios.
to your point with the price, some of the price decreases, there is more of an opportunity right now to get a deal than there certainly would have been had this never happened. That being said, 50% of homeowners right now either own their home outright or have over 50% equity. So one out of every two homeowners is in this country. This is like the country overall. That's a nationwide statistic. Is in an incredibly strong position to hold on their price. So I will warn the buyers out there a little bit that you may not be able to negotiate the prices that you want to because you're thinking, wow, I can really take advantage. There's still high levels of demand. I took where we are in the Connecticut shoreline, we're seeing a lot of interest right now from Fairfield County, from Westchester,
Mm-hmm.
people that are in these dense areas that got really hit hard during this time. And maybe they're looking for a second home. I took a couple out over this weekend. And by the way, the showings have changed dramatically where, we had to fill out a health questionnaire before we were allowed in the home. We had to wear a mask. I could only bring in one at a time. The other one, the wife stayed in the car with the kids. Then I brought the wife and the husband stayed in the car with the kids, but gloves, disinfectant, and a mask, 2 people in the house, same time, 6 to 10 feet apart. But the buyers and even myself a little bit were shocked to learn that after we toured the home, they had a 2 or 3 hour window on Saturday where they were letting people tour. Saturday night there was 3 offers on this property. It went for over asking price, and it was a nice waterfront community, really nice home, well kept, but it was not something that even in a normal market I would have guessed would have went multiple offers, but it did 3 offers over asking price, is what I'm hearing. Obviously, we'll have to see when that closes out officially after inspections and all of that. But there are a number of stories like this as I talk to agents where it's like, man, you would think with all of the headlines and the hysteria out there that the real estate market would be shutting down similar to how many other industries have been forced to shut down, but that's just not the case. So let
Right.
me go to the Smart MLS, which again, if you're let me see here. If you're just tuning in, the Smart MLS is it's the MLS where 99% of the transactions are taking place, 99% of the agents are on the MLS. Technically, Ryan, I don't even know if we're allowed to do this, but I don't think the MLS is watching. I think we'll
You'd be
be
all right.
okay. I mean, I
Yeah,
pull up the
sure.
MLS on all of my listing appointments anyways, because a lot of agents will want to like bring a CMA that the other 3 agents have actually had. And I'm just like, hey, I'll just show you the MLS and we can go through it together and we can actually
Right.
we can do a CMA together. And this is what I'm going to do here right now is show people what's actually legitimately happening on the MLS. So if you see here, this market watch box, this is, and when we went through our blog earlier during this live feed, we were talking about New London County, Middlesex County, and New Haven County. Those 3 counties on the Connecticut shoreline that we primarily focus on. So that's what this market watch is already designed. I've got it set up to just follow those 3 counties. And you can see here, I've got set 7 days, the last 7 days from today, Tuesday, April 14th. And you see I've got a cross property search on. So that's, encompassing everything from single family condo, rentals, multifamily, land, commercial. Let me go over to just single family for sale because we were talking about single family earlier. So let's stick with single family. I think a lot of people, this first number here, new listings, might be surprised to see that 205 homeowners have decided in the last 7 days to actively list their property on the MLS, which makes it live on Zillow, which makes it live on Realtor.com and 1,000 plus IDX websites. An IDX website could be the WilliamRaveis.com website, for example, or oneincompany.com, or any of the other brokerages websites would be an IDX website. They're fed through what you're looking at right now on the screen share, the Smart MLS, and then they're fed through to all of those IDX sites. So 205 homeowners decided now was the time to list in the last 7 days. 69 people who were on the market previously, maybe they were on the market at the beginning of the year, maybe they were on the market last year, maybe they had to come off the market due to some family situation or whatever their issue was. 69 homeowners decided that in the last 7 days, now was the right time to list their home. Okay, so almost 300 listings are on the market. To your point earlier, Ryan, we've seen 113 active listings reduce their price. Yeah. There could be people that have to sell. To your point earlier, there could be an opportunity in those 113 price reductions. We saw 13 people increase their price. Maybe like that story I just told you about over the weekend. Maybe they saw so much activity out of the gates. They thought, well, am I priced too low? I priced it low because I thought we were in this unique situation, but I'm getting my door beaten down with people that want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the number that I want people to focus on, because we talked about how many properties closed in March of 2020, which is a lagging indicator. It means that there was properties going under contract in January and February. But if we look at the last 7 days, New London, Middlesex, and New Haven County, single family homes, if we just look at the last 7 days, show and deposit, these two categories mean that a buyer and a seller came under agreement with a purchase and sale contract. Okay. Show typically means that they haven't maybe done their inspections and appraisal yet. So they're still showing the property until they have all of the contingencies or a majority of the contingencies met. Deposit, it means a lot of those contingencies are done. The deposit check is in the escrow account. Maybe there's a second deposit that's been collected. All the deposits have been collected in full and are sitting in the listing brokerage escrow account. Okay. So this right here, 166 and 194 in the last 7 days, this is just single family homes. This means that well over 300 people, well over 300, about 350, right? 350 plus buyers and sellers came to an agreement on a real estate transaction for a single family home in the last 7 days. Mm-hmm. Those are pretty strong numbers, whether we're in a situation like this or we're just in a normal April week. I do think those numbers with what we saw happening in January and February would be a lot higher, but there are still a number, hundreds of opportunities that are happening. I will open this one up here, show. You can see here, show. These are all properties that went active to show. There's one right there that went deposit back to show. Maybe they're something scary, but these are all fresh. You can see here, active to show, active to show. I'll zoom in there. Everybody on Facebook, active to show, active to show. So that number on the show category is really accurate. 166 new contracts. If we go to deposit, though, there will be a number of these that just switch from show to deposit. So that number 350 is probably, you see some that went active straight to deposit. You'd have to really filter through these to get a true number, but we're still talking well over, you see a lot of them that went active right to deposit. These show ones were already under contract previously, but the actives that are straight to deposit would add to that number. And you're still going to see well over 200 properties in the last 7 days that went under an agreement. That's a lot of opportunities for people that want to sell their home, these new listings, to find buyers right now in the market. Yeah. If we go to the last 24 hours, single family homes, just in the last 24 hours, right now we are supposedly in the peak of this crisis. Well, in the last 24 hours, at the peak of this crisis, we saw 47 properties go into deposit status and 27 properties go into show status. Ryan,
Yeah. I
boots
mean,
boots on the ground.
yeah.
Does this reflect what you're seeing out there in terms of people that are setting up showings, that are active in the market today? Are buyers just looking, or are they looking to buy right now?
They are looking to buy, and we always want to put our buyers in the best situation, and to usually it takes time to direct them and get them all set up, and they are so motivated. They're like, whatever you need, we'll do it. We'll do it. Pre-approval, done. We'll call the loan officer right now. And those numbers are reflecting the attitude towards these buyers. And like I said, we were looking over these numbers for a couple weeks, and it was almost like a race, right? We see like the new listing, was ahead, and then you see deposit and close, and all of a sudden they started to get very close, and they were tied, and now it has finally passed. And just those numbers in 24 hours, it's staggering. My phone is still ringing. I had people calling about properties, and unfortunately, I've been telling people the properties are already under contract. Maybe it's only been a couple days, and I said, hey, look, everyone goes at their own pace, but if something comes on the market within 24 hours, we have to go see it. You have to call me. We have to get you in the door, and we have to make sure you are good to go, because we don't have a crystal ball, but just seeing how everything is going, these properties are moving, and they're moving fast, and they're moving. I always tell my clients, I'm like, look, you got to do. Here's the numbers. What I'm seeing that this house is worth, and you have to do whatever you feel comfortable in talking to the loan officer. But I mean, these numbers, you have to be fairly close, because the competition right now is just. Sometimes we went to one house, it looked like it was Halloween. It looked like people were ringing the doorbell, and people were trick-or-treating coming in this house. It was like a revolving door that had only been on for a couple hours. And
Hey,
it's nuts.
Ryan,
Really
not to cut you off, but Kathy Elson, shout out to Kathy. We had her on The Real Word. She was only our third guest of all time. We've only had 4 guests in 115 episodes. Kathy is the Smart MLS CEO. So she said, I said, I don't even know if we're allowed to do this. She said, showing the Smart MLS like you are is just fine. So we are in the clear. I saw Kathy's name pop up, and I said, okay, I hope there's not a fine attached to that. She says,
I was just about to say, my name's Lee Barr, in case we're in trouble. Just switch my name up.
Exactly. Kathy's doing a great job. I mean, the Connecticut Smart MLS is one of the best well-run MLSs across the country. You've seen MLSs consolidate over the last 7 years to, like an over 30% number, something ridiculous like that. A lot of them have consolidated. We've consolidated here in Connecticut, and Kathy and her team have really led that charge and done a great job. So Kathy, thank you for joining in, and she appreciates how we're showing how Connecticut realtors are making the market work safely. And it is really important. And we'll end with this. I know, Ryan, you've got to go to a final walkthrough.
Yeah.
So Ryan's going to a walkthrough for a property that is closing. And we're going to have to do this again, because I think there's a lot of unknowns right now with the general market of what can actually take place in the real estate industry. Ryan's going to a walkthrough for a closing. Closings have changed, where we can do closings digitally. That's not really what we wanted to talk about here today. But to Kathy's point about how agents really across our industry, across our state, are making things safe, I got to tell you, the listing agents on the properties I've shown in the last 7 days are doing such a great job having that health questionnaire filled out, making sure people have gloves and masks and disinfectant wipes as they go through the home. A lot of these listing agents are getting there early, opening up the house, letting it breathe, opening up the doors and the windows. If we don't have, the downpour like we did yesterday, getting it all open, then sitting in their car. And then when I pull up, we just get on the phone. Hey, this is what's going on. This is how I want you to do it. They sit in their car. We go through. We don't touch anything in terms of lights or anything like that. And then the listing agent goes in, shuts everything down, wipes everything down. And so it's really been nice to see the agents working together as they always do, but making this a safe environment where you can still adhere to the CDC recommendations, to our governor's recommendations. And it's working. We showed you the MLS stats. We can show you more of that information. But it is working. The market is still moving, and it's a critical industry to the success of Connecticut's economy. And these numbers are reflective of how much pent-up demand there is, how much demand there is for good single-family inventory in the state of Connecticut right now. There are people that want to transact on these homes. I understand, and Ryan understands, and our entire team at One Company, we all understand what people are going through. We're in our own situations with our own families are going through these same issues, right? We understand a lot of people have lost their job, but for those people that are still wanting to buy or sell, there are a lot of opportunities out there for them.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I'm really looking forward to next month's numbers. And I'm curious to know the back on market number. What was it? 62, whatever it was before.
Back on market for the last 7 days is that was cross property. Let me go to single family for the 3 counties that we're talking about. Oh, I got so many tabs now. It's getting out of control here.
That's okay. So while you're
last 24 hours back on market was 14. Okay. And that's the 3 counties that we're talking about: New Haven, Middlesex, and New London. Back on market for the last 7 days. This is just single family homes with 69 properties back on market. So there's a lot of sellers that are either getting great information from their agent, that are following this information that's coming out, that are getting access to the MLS from their agent, whatever the case may be, and are realizing, whoa, prices aren't dropping right now. Transactions are happening, and we're set up in a state where we're actually still able to close. We're very lucky in Connecticut to, one, have a governor that's getting it right now in terms of keeping real estate essential. 2, that we have an industry that is practicing precautions and social distancing as we go through these transactions, these showings, these inspections, these walkthroughs like Ryan's about to take place in. And then we have an MLS board, a Smart MLS, that is allowing us to get everything done that we need to get done and actually supporting us in that effort. So that's a quick recap of what the March 2020 market stats and the last 2 weeks actually mean. If you see this live video after it's aired live and you've got questions, or you want us to recap any part of the market, or you have any questions, put it in the comments and we'll be happy to do another one of these or send out some more information. We'll try to keep our information up to the minute like we did today by utilizing our Smart MLS and continue to keep you guys educated on what's happening here in the Connecticut real estate market. Ryan, I know you got to run. We're 9 minutes over. I promised we would be done at 9:30. We're 9:30 now.
It's all right. We'll get it.
All right. Be well, be healthy, stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you guys next time on One Company Conversations.
Ooh, smooth. Take care.